Welcome back to Darkness Live, everyone. I hope you've had a wonderful week since the last time we saw each other.
What's going on with this?
Where's my happy spot at there? You need to lean in.
Very inappropriate.
You're barely on the...
There,
I do not like...
Look at you. Move in. There it goes. Watch this, guys. Look at that. That's a pro.
Oh my God, Jeremiah! Oh my God, I didn't know it was.
She's turning red now.
I didn't know it was recorded. Sorry, guys.
That's what happened.
They couldn't hear anything you were saying before I told you to lean in, or at least not.
They didn't need to hear it. All I had to do was see it. God. Hey, Dave. Hey, Nicole. Jessica. Well, this is kind of crazy how you did the background thing.
What am I hearing?
You're hearing an echo. I gotta silence it. Silence of the lambs.
Oh, is it your phone?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't have it silenced all the way.
Okay. So, how is everyone doing? You probably noticed a few things different. We've made some touch-ups on the studio here.
I literally feel like I'm on a collage. Like it's a living collage.
Looks like I'm getting pecked by two pros.
Yeah, you'll see some sparklies and some weird stuff jumping around on the screen, and that's somewhat normal. I've still got some tweaking I've got to do on this. My green screen isn't really the right color, so, and our lighting's not great, so that makes all the difference in the world. But we'll get it.
Ooh.
We'll get it.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, happy Monday. I say that every Monday. It is a happy Monday. And it's October, and it's nice weather. Oh my God.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
It's absolutely just, I love it. I love the fact that I can take a jacket with me when I leave in the morning, and I had to turn the defrost on. And
I was kind of hoping to get around to golfing today, but that didn't work out.
have you ever pulled a John McEnroe? I know he's a tennis player, not a golfer, but the fact that he would get pissed and throw his racket, and did you ever? Because I could totally see you doing that with golf. No.
Actually, when it comes to golf, I'm the most calm. I'm like.
Oh really? You're just calm, cool, and collected.
Cool. Yep.
Nice.
I've played with quite a few guys that have actually missed a few putts, by a couple inches, and literally get quiet, walk off the green, down towards the fairway, find a tree, and wrap their club around the tree.
Wow.
That poor tree.
Yeah.
That poor tree.
Not cheap either.
No.
That's like. Is there such a thing as botany abuse? A botany abuser or something like that?
No.
Okay. Anyways, so everybody, we have this amazing fellow with us this evening. His name is Roth. And Roth, you introduce yourself.
I was trying to mock Jeremiah.
There we go.
I've got hair, so it doesn't.
There you go. Yeah.
My name's Roth Christopherson. I've known Jeremiah for a long time, and man, there's a lot to say, so we'll skip all that stuff. But no, man, I guess everybody out there that doesn't know me
needs to. They all need to know you.
Yeah, follow our page.
Yeah.
Read my book. Man, I there's not a lot to tell. Love this business that we're in.
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing. I've got a bunch of kids, married to a beautiful wife, Connie.
That is an understatement.
Yeah.
That is an understatement, Roth. She is just absolutely...
She's amazing.
She is amazing.
Pretty awesome.
She's pretty
She
cool.
is incredible.
Cool. No, I've got a lot of kids that, man, they're all growing up so fast. Cody is the last one at home, and he joined the military, so he's getting ready to take off again. So it's me and the house and the wife. So
finally.
It was kind of funny, because they always talk about, what are you going to do when all the kids leave?
Mm-hmm.
Well, my wife and I bought a pizzeria place, for something to do. I think that was awesome. It was either buy an RV and tour the world, and I don't think we wanted to do that. So now we find ourselves, it's kind of fun. Every night we end up at the pizzeria, and it's fun. Really like it. But no, gosh, man, I've been big into the paranormal for a long time, and I was lucky enough to run into these guys on, God, it's been what? Long time.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
But
close to 10
years, probably.
9 years, yeah.
10 years
9
close.
years, 10 years close. Actually was watching TV one morning and ran into an interview with Jason.
Uh-huh.
And I just had to get a hold of this guy because, in the paranormal groups, you either see him on TV and you can't really get a hold of him, and this guy was on local, and so I literally blew his phone up for 2 days.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I did. You're calling me. And so Jason ended up calling me back. Excuse me, sorry, Jeremiah. Jason ended up calling me back and talked to him for a little bit, and then we met. I think I met him with Ben. Ben, and
right.
We sat down and talked for a little bit, and told him the story that got me, really curious about the whole paranormal. And then a couple months later, I started sending them stuff, people that I knew that had stuff going on in their lives and their houses, and they let me go on a couple of the investigations with them, and next thing you know, they asked me to be a member, and
you were like, yes.
Oh man, I was so
you were like,
excited.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, when Ben brought that up to me that night, and I think it was actually Leo. I think it was Leo that did it. Leo asked me, and I looked at Jason like, is this real? Like is this actually happening? And been with the team ever since, and have met a lot of very interesting people over the years, and got to meet Jeremiah, and now you.
I know.
And,
it's crazy how. So, what was the first memory recollection you have that sparked your interest in the paranormal? I always love hearing people's stories about how they got into it, because it's not it's not a normal thing. It's not just an everyday thing that people. You know what I mean? It's really not.
Right.
I wouldn't classify it as taboo, but at the same time, it's just not something that. You know what I mean? Everybody's into, and I'm always fascinated by how.
That's what fascinates me with my wife. My wife and I always have some interesting conversations about all this stuff. But until you have something that actually happens to you, it is hard to believe. It really is, and. I had something that happened to me, and it just put the big wow factor in the back of my head. And for a couple of years after that, had a couple other things happen, and I just, who do you talk to? That was the biggest thing is, that's my daughter. I think.
Tell
Corey,
her hi.
Is that Corey? Hi, Corey.
I just had to point that out. I had to point that out.
She's on here. That's awesome.
Welcome.
Now,
welcome.
It was. I was at my grandmother's house, and for years, after my grandfather passed away, there was conversation of him still being there.
Right.
My grandmother would always say, "Yeah, we see him all the time. He goes from the bathroom or the bedroom into the dining room, and then the dining room." Into the bathroom. They just see him, moving around the house.
Right.
And so I actually was building a shed. My grandmother, me building a shed, right, Jeremiah?
Uh-huh.
And it came with directions, actually, so it was pretty cool. Everything was pretty cool. But no.
Was it like an IKEA shed?
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Okay.
But my cousin and I, Jay, were putting this shed together, and we went in for lunch to take a break. And if anybody knows, my daughter can speak for me or vouch for me on this one. My grandma always had candy sitting in the center of the table, a big, crystal
Yeah.
vase thing full of candy. And so one of the things we were not allowed to do at the house was go into their bedroom. Because I can remember even when I was really a lot younger, when you're kids, you snoop everywhere.
Right.
And
You're like, Roth is like, I'm getting that candy. I'm getting that candy.
Where that candy's at. And so, we knew that it was in Grandma and Grandpa's bedroom.
Right.
In one of their dresser drawers is where she hid all the bags. And so, Grandpa, oh my God, he'd really let you know if he caught you in there.
Yeah.
It was not a good thing. But my grandfather was one of the coolest guys around.
Mm-hmm.
And so to see him get mad over something like that, you're like, wow, he's angry but we could do anything in the house other than go in that room. And so I looked at Jay and I said, hey, you want to go snoop around Grandma's room?
Oh, dear.
And where was Grandma?
Grandma was at work. She
Oh.
was working for Raytheon, or I guess back then it was Beach Aircraft.
Uh-huh.
And so Jay looked at me and he literally said no. He goes, no, we're not supposed to be in there. And of course I said, Grandpa's not, he's gone. Grandpa's,
Roth, you troublemaker.
yeah, he's gone. Let's go in and look. And so Jay fought me on it for a little bit, and I talked him into it. And so I don't want to spend the whole show describing the room, but there's it's a pretty small bedroom. Bed. There's a bed, 2 nightstands, a 6-drawer dresser, tall, right when you walk in, and then I think a 9-drawer. That's the shorter one that goes along the other part of the wall. And so, anyways, we go in. And we sat down with our backs on facing the door, the entrance to the bedroom, and we start going through the drawers, and we find a old fishing joke book. And it wasn't that big, it had little but it had a bat on it, and it was because back in the day they would use a club to kill the catfish.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going through the jokes, and we heard a really loud bang, and I can't describe how loud it was.
It probably made you stop what you were doing and say,
it was
what
like
was
a door
that?
slammed.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And so immediately, of course, Jay and I both turn around to look at the door, and of course, Jay's like, Grandma's home. And we're all both looking, we're screwed.
Like, oh, crap!
There's no way we can get out of here without getting busted. And so anyways, I started going, Grandma, are you home? And nothing. And so I get up, start to walk towards the door. As I pass the bed to go outside to see, I look over to my left, and my grandmother's jewelry box is literally broken into pieces. I mean, not broken.
Oh.
And this wasn't just a normal.
Oh no.
It was tall. It was probably, if people can see, it was probably about this tall, about that wide. It had 2 window doors that opened, and the necklaces would hang, and then there was like 6 or 7 drawers, and then on this side, the sides would open, and you could put more stuff.
Right.
And it's laying on the ground, broken into pieces.
Did Grandpa get it for Grandma?
God.
That I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Oh dear.
But I just looked, and the first thing I thought was, how did this fall? And Grandma's going to kick my ass. I mean, it was not going to be good because I can't explain this. I can't fix it. It's not like it fell. Everything's cool. Put some jewelry back and you're good. This thing was shattered, and so into pieces. And so I went over there and I started picking it up. And as I went to go, of course, my cousin is gone.
Of course he's gone.
He's gone. He just left. And so I'm looking, and I start trying to figure out how this thing fell. And I look up on top, and everybody, that had a grandma back then, I can't remember the name of these, but they, you would knit these little things, and they're real thin, and they're made of
doilies.
Doilies. Why that doesn't even, what is a doily? Really? And so anyways, this doily thing was on the ground as well. And so I look up, and the only thing she ever had on that dresser was a picture of them, which was on the left side. So if this is the entry, here's the dresser. On this side of the dresser was her jewelry box, doily, and then the 8x10 picture of them. All 3 items were up against the wall.
What?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I'm like, how did this happen? And as I'm looking, it's glass. She had a piece of glass on top.
Okay.
Okay. And there were 4 marks that went all the way across the glass.
Like
and they were just like
the feet of the jewelry box?
of the jewelry box.
Wow.
And I just sat there and went, oh my God. I thought I was going to be really freaking out, but what I found myself doing was yelling at my grandfather, because how am I going to explain this?
Right.
You know, there's no way to explain. Well, there is. It was, you were screwing around with my jewelry.
Right.
And why?
Right.
So
yeah.
the outcome is not good. And so I went out to talk to Jay, and of course Jay's out on the patio because it scared him to death. And so we ended up, long story short, we were working back out on the shed, and my grandma came home, and I knew we were in trouble. And so grandma does what she always does, and she walks in, and she would always set her purse down, and then she would go change from her work clothes into her evening clothes and fix a drink. So when she walked in, we were like, hi, Grandma. You know,
And she was like,
she's like, how's your day? And I said, well, we got the shed done. You know, it was the final day of building that thing. But anyways, we're sitting on the couch. She set her purse down, walked right into her room, shut the door, and I was waiting for it. Yeah. And this is the strange part. She cracked the door and said, Rothy. That's what all my family members would call me when I'm in trouble.
you're like, oh, God.
And I went, yeah. And she goes, can you come here for a second? I was like, all right. And I'll never forget this. It's clear as day. She was sitting there, and this is a bad vision that I'm going to explain, but she was like in her bra, and I could just remember seeing the bra strap. She's got the door cracked, and she goes, can you explain to me what happened to my jewelry box? And I said,
The moment of truth.
yeah, I said, Grandma, even if I told you, you're not going to believe me. And she goes, okay, you were in my room, weren't you? And I said, yep. And she shut the door. That was it. And I just sat there and looked at my cousin like, okay.
She's going to come back. Oh, God.
Yeah,
she's
like,
getting
well,
a 2x4. What's going
she's in there
on?
getting her weapons ready.
Something like, why isn't she yelling at me? Why isn't she, you know? And, you know, to this, even before she passed on, she had never really brought that up to me. I think she knew we were in there because I had some conversations about it as I got older.
How old were you when that happened? I don't think I asked.
Wow. I was probably 17.
Okay.
16, 17.
So you weren't like little.
Mm-mm.
So no. You were okay.
No, it was one of those deals where my parents dropped me off for a couple, in the morning before I went to work, help Grandma build the shed, and get me in the evenings. And so I wasn't that old. And so that always got to me because I never could understand how that thing, at first I thought maybe it fell like she had it on the other side, but the longer I thought about it, it's always been that way.
Right.
The picture was on the left. And the doily.
Man, Grandpa was so mad he was coming through the veil on the other side.
To grab that and just.
Like, I'm going to let you know I'm here, damn it.
Yeah, and for it to hit the wall, it was a good probably 4 feet.
And that thing was probably not light either.
No, it wasn't. And so that right there, as time, went on, I started having some more situations that occurred that I could not explain, and you dare not say anything to anybody because they think you're crazy,
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and so I held all of this stuff in, for the longest time, and because I didn't want anybody thinking I was nuts. And so when I saw Jason, I said, man, that guy is going to hear all my stories because I need some answers on how this stuff happened.
Right.
And I got very fortunate that Jason actually took the time to, and and even after talking to Jason over those years, he still to this day doesn't know why he took that call, because they get them all the time.
Right.
Serendipity.
But for some reason, he called me back.
Yeah.
And 2 days later, I'm sitting there with Ben and Jason going over this stuff, and they're just kind of looking at me, And then I think the reason they thought I was pretty legit on the deal is because I had some other situations happen at a hotel that they were trying to get into.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, so they maybe saw an opportunity also.
Well, not necessarily an opportunity, but like the stories that I was telling them, they had heard before.
Gotcha.
And so, they had actually happened to be. It's at that hotel downtown on Broadway.
Yeah, the
Broadview.
The Broadview, yes.
The Broadview back there, yeah. And so the more I started talking about that, because my sister and I spent some time there, and they'd let us go run around up there.
Oh, wow.
And so Robin and I had quite a few occurrences there.
Mm-hmm.
And so by letting him know what had happened, he had already known some of that stuff. And so next thing you know, I'm in the paranormal world doing this.
And you're like,
oh.
Hey, so I have two questions for you about that story with your grandma. So at that point when all that happened, was it openly talked about that she saw your grandpa and everything like that? Was she open about it?
Yeah, after that, she set me down, and other family members started telling me their stories and everything. Yeah, he's very well known to be there.
Wow. And then my next question, did your grandma ever mention because I would imagine at first, would it freak a person out, or would it be a comfort?
Right.
Because like if, I would think that if it was me and you croaked or whatever, I would find it comforting if you were still lurking around or whatever. I would. Creeper. Yeah, if you were I would love it if my husband was a creeper. Just saying.
Got something to look forward to.
I know, right?
I'm not planning on going anywhere, alive or dead, so.
Yeah, well, there we go. But you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
The stories that Grandma told me were comforting, because there were certain things that they would always do together, and she was still kind of doing those things, and she would look up and see him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was.
That's really cool. How long were they married?
I don't.
Long time?
50 plus years.
Long time.
Long time.
Long time.
Wow.
There some of the stories where they used to mow their lawn, and even back in those days, the women never mowed the lawn. It was always the guy, and so Grandma and Grandpa would always have a beer. You always had a drink over there, and so Grandma would stand towards the fence, and they'd mow 2 or 3 strips, and then they'd rotate. Grandma would start drinking the beer, and Grandpa would mow 2 or 3 strips, and then they would rotate. And so when Grandma still mowed her own lawn after he had passed on, and she said she would look up and double take, and he'd be sitting at the corner of the fence.
That is so neat, though. Yeah. I love that.
So it was very comforting. Another time they used to trim the hedges. They had a huge tree line, and they did it together. And so, Grandma would get up on the ladder and trim, and he'd get up on the ladder and trim. And when he passed on, she was like, this has still got to get done. And so for some crazy reason, she said she went out there by herself and was up on the top part of the ladder, and she was reaching over to get as far as she could. Mm-hmm. She fell. She said that ladder went left. She started going sideways, but she said, Roth, I stopped, and she said she literally turned sideways and stood up.
Wow.
She never hit the ground. Now, my grandma never lied about anything. She was, you know, devoted Catholic, went to church every Sunday. If she didn't, she went twice on Monday. You know, I mean.
Wow.
So for her to lie about something like that, she wouldn't have.
She wouldn't have.
Right. And she said, you know, Roth, I should have hit the ground. And she never did.
That is so incredible.
Wow.
I don't know
awesome.
that she told a lot of people that, because that's something that, you know, they're going to think, oh, we're put her in a retirement.
Grandma, come on. Room and board.
And, you know, when she told me that, I just thought, okay, that's pretty crazy. But there had been several other incidences that happened there in the house with him. So
do all of your kiddos know about it?
Mm-hmm. They should. I think they probably heard me
tell
the story.
So with you and Connie, with your wife, so is she more like Scully and you're Mulder?
Yeah, pretty much.
So it doesn't matter what she's experienced, she's continually like, well.
I think she's starting to, you know, you'd have to have her on the show to have her explain to you. It's really weird. It's kind of like an engineer.
Okay. She's so smart. Your wife is so smart.
It's one of those things where scientifically,
she's so smart.
Yeah, you got to be really careful. Scientifically, they say you can't prove it. Okay, but scientifically, you can't prove that it's not.
Right.
Okay, but the problem is, my intelligent level ends right there and hers doesn't. So I get roasted pretty quick.
That sounds familiar.
It's like I just get roasted because I don't know what else to say.
I know. It's like, I don't know. You win.
I don't bring it up much anymore. But 10 years ago, 7 years, whatever it's been, she has grown a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think her perspective is broadened a little bit more.
Okay.
You know, that's all I can say.
Yeah.
But we try to I don't talk about it a lot.
Is she just like, honey, have fun. Bye. Let me know you made it.
Now,
on investigations.
Now when she comes home, you know, 3-4 years ago I'd come home, oh my God, this happened. You're not gonna believe this happened. Now she goes, so how was it? And I'm like, it was good.
Yeah.
And I go in the other room. She's like, so how'd it go? It was fun. You know,
the tables have turned a little bit.
I don't
watch one of these days. You're gonna be like, wait, what? Because she's gonna want to go. One of these, she's like, hey, babe, can I go with you? One of these times.
Maybe. I think hell will freeze over if that happens. But you know,
you never know.
I think that the more she's talking, you know, she's spoken with a few of her friends and. She's like, you know, you really believe in that? And they're like, yeah. And what? And so I think, yeah, like I said, she's starting to open up to it a little bit more, you know.
Right.
But I think one thing she does like is that our group really tries to debunk everything instead of just going, oh, it's haunted. You know?
Right.
And I think she really likes that part about us.
Right.
Because we will actually try to debunk a lot of stuff.
Well, you go at it from a skeptical
that stupid alarm
point of view. There's that alarm again. God, we never remember to shut it off.
There it goes.
Thank you. Thank you.
But
why does he have an alarm set for this time of the
day? I
day?
don't know. I'm going to take a guess that, what time is it?
7.
All right. Well, that clock says 7.
Well, I'm gonna guess
8.
I'm gonna guess he probably tried to set it for 7 a.m. but hit 7 p.m. Maybe. I could see that happening.
Probably.
I could see that. Well, man,
that's the difference between men and women. Look, we would have gone, why would he do that? And
right.
She's like, oh, it's because he pushed the PM instead of the. We would have probably never thought that.
Right. No.
Women are.
A million years.
Yeah, there's got to be a different explanation, you know. But no, I think my wife, it's, you know, dealing with those type of people, it's tough. And that, again, that goes back to what Jeremiah's taught me, Jason, Leo, is that you've got to be very, very, very careful how you explain yourself and how you talk about certain things, because there is always going to be that person
yeah.
is smarter than you, that knows more about this stuff than you, and can just
squash
really,
you like a bug.
What you don't ever want to be is that guy that could screw up the team.
You don't want to be a Zach Baggins.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I don't want to sit here and start talking about information. My wife has taught me that too. Be careful when and I always try to tell her it's different when I talk to her, because I'm just blurting stuff out.
Oh yeah.
And I was in the door slam, and I jumped 3 feet, and then I got scratched, and then and she's like, "Wow,
Right.
I don't do that when we talk with customers and
See, and I actually wrote, like, when I say Zach Baggins, I've never watched a ghost show. Like, well, that's not true. I watched the MTV show Fear, like, a long time ago. Do you remember that? And they had, like, the Godsmack Voodoo song opening the show.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I watched.
Then they'd hide you in.
Yes.
And throw dirt on you, and that was fun.
I watched that show, but as far as, like, the ghost shows, like, I've never watched one. So the first time I ever heard of this Zach guy, was Jeremiah. We were talking about it, because I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, you've never heard of it? And I'm like, no. What are you talking about?
Let me tell you something, and this is, I hope I don't upset viewers on this stuff, but, I love these kind of conversations. Everybody sits there and goes, I hate him, I hate this, I hate that. Part of me, you hate him because you want to be him, okay? And in this business, to me,
he did it.
And for all of the guys that know me, Jason, Leo, all those guys, when we did our I don't want to
put in our little 2-bit
our pilot that we made, we all know what they will ask you to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fake it till you make it, and then you fake it some more.
I'm sorry. And Jason, if you're watching this, which I know you will, he gets so frustrated, but it's like he's making it, and maybe he goes home at night and goes, man, I don't sleep well, but when he's getting paid what he's getting paid, he's going to do what they ask him to do.
Right.
Yeah. And if he continued to do the same stuff over and over and over and over, he'd have been done.
Is it better to burn out or fade away?
So like that time he was asking for that hatchet to fall on.
We were talking about that yesterday.
Come on, dude.
The Velisca
axe murder house when they investigated there.
Yeah.
That was the episode that absolutely spoiled me on him. I thought he had a good show up until then. I'm sorry. I will do a lot of crazy shit on an investigation. I have done. I jumped up in the rafters for that thing that was up there that we got the video of.
Well, that time you and I were in a closet and that thing said, "I'm going to kill you," and I'm like,
"Get out of the closet now!"
Jeremiah goes, "Oh, shut." And I'm like, okay, and he goes, "Stop, you're not scaring me." And I'm just like, we're communicating with the spirit on a voice box that's going, "I'm going to kill you." And, Jeremiah's just shut up. And I'm waiting for one of us to just get slammed. But, it didn't happen. But, yeah, I see what you're saying. Is that about the time that his show just started dropping?
I don't remember. That's been a long time ago. That was oh my gosh, that was at least 8 years ago.
So Roth,
but hold on,
okay,
to everybody out there, that freaking thing could have dropped.
Oh yeah,
unless they had that thing zip tied up there or whatever. Whatever was in there could have done it.
I have no. That's why I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what. Okay, so maybe he is crazy enough to actually risk getting his head dismembered.
I think he had it. I think he probably had it secured.
Either that or
it was either rigged or he doesn't believe what he's doing.
Or it was a perception thing. Like maybe it above him was not actually directly over him. Maybe it was.
Yeah, there is that too. That could have been it too.
It could have fallen, but still.
We all
know
there could have been an earthquake.
That it could happen.
And it could have scalped him.
Yeah. Yeah, he's nuts. But he's doing what needs to be done.
I bet you if he would have done it in Tahlequah, he would have been scalped. Just saying.
Oh, my God.
And in order to continue to have all the followers that he has, he's got to continue to push the limits.
Yeah,
and all he's
yeah.
going to do is upset people that are really in the business. Those people that follow him are going to watch his show.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. So, Roth, tell everybody how you met Jeremiah. This story cracks me up. Like, you tell it so... I love this story. It's like my favorite story.
Yeah.
It's my favorite story.
I actually, the first time I met Jeremiah is I'd heard all these stories about him. And then it was actually at the church the first time.
Yep.
And I remember Jason was kind of showing me around because we were doing an overnight investigation there at the church. And I think you were sitting clear down at the end, and Jeremiah said that, he's the founder. And I just look over, and Jeremiah already has this look of, he's tall. It's
pretty hot.
At the moment,
it's pretty hot.
Yeah, I have a guy that was on this show last week that thought he was hot. Or something.
Yeah, right.
But no, Jason had kind of told me about him, and I'd heard all these stories, and then we get split up, and I never saw him again that night. But as I spent more time with the group, Jason, and Leo always talked about this guy Jeremiah, and we ended up going
You're
to
eventually
Tahlequah.
like, I don't believe he actually
I'm like,
exists.
who is
He's
this
never
guy?
around.
Never around. Never heard of him. And so they invited me out to Tahlequah for the first time, and everybody that's been watching your show knows about Tahlequah.
Oh, right.
And so we won't get into that, but I'm just sitting out there and taking all of this in because Tahlequah has its own feeling.
Is it like a feeling of dread?
It's
just you can't explain it. It's very overwhelming.
That particular piece of ground that we have visited there several times is.
I'm imagining like take your breath away, heavy, just like ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Rose.
Okay,
go on.
Hopefully someday we will all get to go back.
Yeah.
Right.
I hope. But anyways, we're out there, and this truck pulls up, and I'm pretty far away, probably at least 50 yards away. And, I see this guy getting out of this truck, and I just went, oh, my God, that's Jeremiah. And I was so excited to get to work with him because, for one, he was the founder. And all you hear about is Leo and Jason talk about the times that they've got to spend with him, and memories and everything. And so man, when I saw him walking, I was like a little kid. I was just like so excited. It's like a girl getting to see one of the Backstreet Boys or something. I just could not believe I'm going to get to see Jeremiah.
I had that moment when we were at Paracon, and I realized, what is that? What something's going awry with the. Sounds like a awful walkie-talkie or something.
Yeah, I'm just trying to adjust the sound here a little bit.
See, and when we were at Paracon and we were right next to Chad.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I was like, oh, that's cool. He's in Supernatural or whatever, which wasn't a big deal to me. I've never watched it. Okay, I probably should, but that's another topic.
It's
but anyways,
an okay show.
But then when
Sorry,
it.
Jason.
But then when it hit me that, oh my God, he was in an X-Files episode. Oh my God, Jeremiah, he was in an X-Files. And I was like all sweat. I was getting sweaty. And, I'm just like, oh my God. And the first thing I went up to him, I was like, what was David Duchovny like? What was he like? Tell me about him.
Yep.
Like
you have all these questions.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember asking Jeremiah questions, and you're trying to keep your composure, and to me, Jeremiah, to me, he's just like, this is another guy, he's new in the group and he's doing his thing. But what was really cool is the first time we were there is somehow I ended up teamed up with him, and I got to be in that house.
Yeah.
And
this is a wild story. You guys need to listen to this. This is awesome.
I'm like, oh my God, I get to hang with Jeremiah, and so radios are going. We're spread all over this land, and they said lights out, and it got dark, and I'm sitting there with Jeremiah in this living room, and this is probably one of my maybe the third investigation I've actually been on. And we shut the lights off. Jeremiah and I are looking at the monitors, and we're looking, and within like 3 seconds of lights out, we hear this. Hope I don't kill everybody on here, but it just like boom. And I looked at Jeremiah like, oh God, what was that? Because I had an idea of what that was, but I didn't want to think what that was. And of course, Jeremiah...
You're like, my nightmare's becoming my reality.
Jeremiah just takes off. And so I follow him. We go into the hallway, and Jeremiah goes to try to open the door, and it won't budge.
This is a room that we had just been in like 5-10 minutes before lights out.
Yeah, because we were checking everything to make sure everything was good to go. And so prior to that, if you walk in this room, there's like a 6 dresser drawer, 9 dresser drawer. It's one of those smaller ones. The
shorter but longer.
It was 9.
Yeah.
9 drawers. But here's the craziness, guys, is when you walk in, that dresser was to the right on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
When Jeremiah went to try to open the door to see what that noise was, it wouldn't open. And then Jeremiah pushed a little bit, and as he pushed the door, he turned his flashlight on, and he's like, oh my God. And I looked down, and I saw the same thing you did.
Yeah.
The drawers were facing us.
Wow.
It's like that dresser. That dresser had swung around and landed in front of the door.
And blocked.
Somebody didn't want you coming in.
And that's what we heard. That
it was the wooden legs scratching on the
across
wooden
the floor.
Wow.
Yeah, that was insane.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I think
and that was always was always the kind of shit you could expect down there. It was just insane.
Yeah, that was pretty. I just looked at him like,
be like,
I mean, to move that dresser,
that's gotta take a lot of energy.
That's a lot of energy. And that's how our whole night started. And then of course, more with the stuff that was cut and the wires and
Yeah. I had some.
Did you notice who was always around you after that happened? I don't think I left your side now that I think about it. I didn't leave his side because there was some crazy stuff going on there. And I did not leave this guy's side. Like me, I'm not scared of a lot of anything. And that place, when...
it's got a way of getting to your bones. I mean, it spooks me on occasion. And you know how I am. It just...
I probably should have a drink or two before I go then.
When I saw that video, and I'm jumping big time into this, but, there's a video before, that's a whole nother show, but we had some monitors of some video cameras out and about, and Jeremiah and I are watching this, and you can see the tail, the bob tail. What is it, bob?
It was some sort of plant. It looked like cattails,
but
it wasn't
like cattail.
It wasn't. There wasn't water right there, so I'm not sure what it was, but it looked like cattails.
Yeah. And so you could see. So if the monitor's right here, the camera is right here, facing this direction, you would see the cattail go like this in front of the screen, and it was like somebody was pushing it, and so it would come into play and then it'd go out of view.
Oh wow!
And all of a sudden it just turns black.
Yeah. The video feed just goes away.
It just went away, and so of course Jeremiah and everybody goes out there and is checking it all out, and it's been cut. And there's absolutely really no way for anybody to have gotten on that property without us.
Well,
aliens.
Not only that,
aliens. It was aliens.
Where the cord was cut was in camera view. It was in camera frame.
Yeah.
You couldn't get to that cord and cut it in that place without being on camera. Period.
Wow. It was aliens. It was aliens. Hey,
whatever it was not showing up on camera, and so like let's say if this right here is the monitor and it's facing that direction, and I come up and I'm standing here and I'm cutting the cord, and as I lean down to grab the cord, my body's pushing up against that. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
And so, but there's nothing there, but you can see the whole plant moving.
Yeah.
That's wild.
And so Jeremiah gets on his phone and makes a phone call, and he's like, "So what do you think? Do you think we need to get out of here, or do you think we need?" And I think you were on speaker, and with Brandon.
Yeah. Callahan. He's been on the show before. You should go back and watch his episode. You'll get a lot more information about the place that we're talking about.
And when you get Brandon Callahan to say, "Leave," I was like, "What?" And I just went, "Okay." And Jeremiah stood there like, "Okay," and he's like, "Yeah, I would probably get out of there, guys." And I'm just like, "Oh, this is the first time there." And that was
you're like, "Oh, this shit's getting real."
Yeah, shit got real.
My goodness.
Yeah, and unless you were there, nobody will ever understand.
Yeah.
So was Roth around when you said, I can't remember who it was, or which specific time. That's why I'm not sure if he was around when this all took place. You were talking about somebody was filming you guys, and the camera and the videos, everything was dying. All the batteries were dying, and
that was he was there when that was going on.
Yeah.
It was the other
Cemetery,
trip, the other most well, it was when I was doing that ritual on the ground there at Tahlequah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Was that
the same?
It wasn't the same trip.
It wasn't the same
okay.
trip. That
Okay.
was the second one that I had been on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that's when what's his name got his hands burnt.
Yeah. Yep.
And
the cameraman,
because he wouldn't participate, right?
Yeah, and it was the craziest thing because when I was doing that ritual.
Sorry, I probably really confused everybody that's watching.
Yeah, everyone's like,
you should back up a little bit and explain what we're talking about.
Okay, so at this location in Tahlequah, like I said, if you go back and watch the episode where we had Brandon Callahan on, our good friend, he in his episode you get a lot more information about this particular piece of ground. So I won't go into a lot of that, but it is Native American ground, and it's very, very. The energy there is very intense, really intense. Is I was doing a ritual there that night because of some of the stuff that we had happen there. I wanted to enable some interaction while at the same time, bringing up our defenses a little bit.
Like, I don't want anything coming home with me.
Right. Nothing going home, nothing hurting us, nothing damaging equipment, all that kind of stuff. And so, when I get to that point in the ritual, the first time, because I did the ritual twice, because of what happened the first time. The first time I did the ritual, we got to that point, and it was very ceremonial, and they were filming the whole thing from I think 2 different angles even, but it was really cool. But when I started the binding aspect of it, putting down the rules, saying you can't hurt us, you can't go home with us, you can't, all that stuff.
Setting your intention.
Yeah. When I started that part of it, Leo hears a scream off out in the distance. And then when I finished it, cameraman's equipment died. All of it. Not just one battery, not just one piece of equipment. Every single piece of battery-operated piece of equipment he was running died.
Oh, my.
Boom. Gone.
And these aren't like little batteries that we put in our phones or our Sony cameras. These guys, these are big battery packs. I mean, to give you examples, some of these cameras, I mean, if you could just picture it, these guys had like train tracks, like that would turn.
Oh,
and go,
wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's full.
Wow.
Like professional. We were filming for a TV pilot.
Yeah, they had.
And this was production grade equipment. Professional production
that way the
grade
cameras
equipment.
could move. He could control.
Oh, wow.
them, and so you could get the full views. Yeah, it was cool. These, and matter of fact, one of them I think he was so upset about because he had just torn this out of the package.
Yeah.
And put brand new in, and
those probably weren't cheap either.
And well,
Well, it's all rechargeable, but still, it was brand new,
yeah,
fully charged.
Shouldn't have died.
And then, like I said, not just one piece of equipment, every camera, microphones, backup camera, other microphones, other equipment that we were running, recorders, shit like that. Wham! All died. Everything. Not a single piece of
Sucked
battery
life
operated
right.
equipment left running except for a couple of flashlights, maybe. And then, the next night, because of the camera failure, he wanted to film the ritual again. Okay? So I was doing it again. I repeated everything. It was just except this time it was just me. I didn't have anyone else participating, and same exact thing. Before the binding section, binding aspect of it, I felt in the distance. As soon as the binding aspect of it was done, boom, battery's dead.
What's your explanation for that?
Whatever it was that I was binding, it was flexing its muscles and trying to say, you can't control me like that. But here's the kicker. There was no damage done to equipment. The batteries were drained, but they're rechargeable.
Right.
It wasn't damaged.
Wow.
So he was still bound. He was trying to freak us into thinking that he wasn't. So, thereby taking energy away from the power away from the bindings.
Wow.
So, and that kind of shit happened there on a regular basis. I mean, that's not a place that you want to go and actually challenge something.
No.
Were you there the night at the cemetery when they were filming, I think, Jason and Leo, and I was probably 20 feet, 30 feet away in the cemetery. And if you look at these tripods that they had holding this equipment, you can't knock those.
Yeah,
I mean, they're not going to blow over because of the wind.
Right.
Okay.
You're talking about the whole setup. The one that he was using that night was like 65, 70 pounds. I mean, this is a heavy duty rig.
Yeah, they're not going to blow over.
Right.
And they were filming Leo and Jason, I think, and Renee in the far corner.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you were there that night. He set up the track so he could maneuver the camera. And
I was off over outside the cemetery with Brendan because Brendan was having problems.
Is that when he got sick and walked past me and was like
and he was still not feeling well. He didn't feel well the whole time we were there. So I was over checking on him and make sure. That's when we'll go ahead. That's where I was when what you're talking about now was happening.
So if you can,
I heard the commotion, but I didn't see
a picture of this. So you've got a couple people in a corner of the cemetery. Over in this direction is where he built the camera with the tracking system, so he could maneuver what they were doing.
Right.
And nobody was even around. The wind's not blowing. And all of a sudden, that thing got pushed over.
Dang.
And nobody could catch it. We weren't close enough, and it actually ended up breaking one of those tracks. And that camera guy was livid. Yeah. Because I think he said it was well over $1,000 for one part of the track.
Ooh.
Yeah. And he hadn't filed his insurance.
Yeah. And so that was a complete loss on his part. But that place is. Yeah, I can't. Yeah, that place is nuts.
Oh, man.
So, Tahlequah aside, what's your most memorable experience?
My most memorable... Oh, I keep always going... And there's probably a couple more I'm going to think about here before too long. I would have to say it was when I was with Jason and Ben at the church.
Okay, yeah.
That was one of my first nights there, and I can't explain. It's a big church. It's been turned into a school, and they had the classrooms up top and so forth. So that night we were actually all supposed to go to Dodge, and it was storming. The weather was really bad, and so Ben and Jason thought, let's take him there. I've never been there, other than that night that I went and spent the night there with you guys for the overnight investigation. As just a person, being there. We were going upstairs to the top floor, and it was the first time that I'd actually seen an apparition, a person. We were coming up the stairs, walking around the hallway, getting ready to head that direction, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, we're going down the hallway, and back in the day when they had the schoolrooms with the doors, and they would open the doors and you have that little window, something or someone literally went like this, heard us walking down the hallway, and just turned and looked at us, and we all stopped at the same time, literally just froze, because we all saw somebody just staring. And those two guys took off running for it like they were Marines, And I remember just standing there, just froze.
I probably would have froze too.
And I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. And then I remember they both went flying around the corner, and then I thought, yeah, I'm not going in there.
Well, they say that
I thought, man, I'm out here in this hallway by myself, and then I took off.
Well, they say that when you're in a moment of panic or whatever, it's fight or flight mode. But I think that when it comes to the paranormal, there's a third option, and it's oh shit mode.
Yeah, that was an
oh shit mode.
Because that was the first time that I had actually ever seen anything like and it was like a normal.
It's freaky, isn't it? It's freaky, isn't it?
Yeah.
When it happens.
Because when I got there's nobody there.
Ooh.
Nobody there.
Is there a murder happening?
No, I just had to
Sorry.
tell some kids to get off their phones because they were bogging down our bandwidth.
Ew. Okay. Kids and their cell phones, I tell you. I tell you what. Man, that's crazy. Yeah, honey, I was telling him that, when you have a moment of panic or terror, whatever, typically they say you go to either fight or flight mode.
Right.
But I think that, I was telling Roth, I think that when there's a third option when it comes to paranormal encounters, and I think it's the oh shit mode.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, that was definitely an oh shit mode, where he said that he saw that first time he saw something.
Oh, yeah.
And froze, couldn't move, know. Do you remember the first time you saw something?
Yeah. I don't want to talk about that. Maybe some other time on the show, but yeah.
Okay, so
like my
no, I'm not talking. I don't expect you to talk about that on here.
Okay,
but I'm talking about like later on down the line when you're older.
So
like,
I think there's a murder being committed now.
You guys can hear that?
Where'd you go, Roth?
Damn it.
Had to dispose of the body.
Sorry, guys.
No,
are you all right?
I'm 50.
So, I think probably. And my camera's getting all wiggy on me here. I might have to. Where's the happy spot? There it is. Okay.
Wow.
So.
I could so say what Michael Scott would say right now. I'm not going to. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Said.
Yeah, that's what she said. Jeremiah found his happy spot.
Oh my God.
Sorry, guys.
This is what I have to live with.
Yes, you do. Hey, by choice.
Yes, I'm not going to complain about it.
By
I'm not
choice.
going to complain about it.
Okay, back on track. So yes, the first time I asked him the first time he saw something other than when he was like little.
Okay, so there was every pretty much every county in America or every city in America has what they call a crybaby bridge or a crybaby road, right? It's supposed to be a haunted bridge or a haunted road or a haunted
something.
Here in Wichita, it's Theodoros Bridge.
You should take me. I've never been there. Have you been there?
Yeah.
And
I've never been there.
Augusta has the something Oak, White Oak Cemetery or something like that over there, and also Garvin Park, and then back home we have Beer Can Alley.
Back home, Texas?
Yes, where I grew up. Okay, and you heard stories about things that you would see on Beer Can Alley all the time. It might be a girl walking by the side of the road, or it might be a weird guy standing there that would chase your vehicle as you drove by, or it might be a couple of kids that would stand in the middle of the road and wouldn't go anywhere until you actually pulled up close enough to them, and then they would just disappear. The first time I ever saw anything that I could not, and still to this day cannot explain, was on Beer Can Alley. I don't know if it was a ghost light or a UFO. I don't know that I've ever actually told you this.
You have not. I've never heard this story. I know I've never heard this story.
Beer Can Alley, it went around kind of the southeastern skirt of town, just right outside of town. Little bitty town, like 2,500 population. Little bitty. We were barely a 3A school.
Wow.
So
barely.
You guys had half the football team.
Right. Yeah. So, I can't remember. Seemed like there were a couple of guys with me. I can't remember who it was. There's probably a good reason I couldn't remember who it was, but we'll leave. That's a story for another time. So, so it was called Beer Can Alley for a reason.
Maybe that's why they saw so many, some weird
right,
shit going on.
right.
Right. I didn't have anything that would have caused me to hallucinate that night.
As opposed to other nights?
I might have been drinking, but I wasn't drinking that much, And granted, young, dumb, and stupid, out, driving around with a 6-pack of beer, on the back roads. That's what we did back then. So that was literally what there was for entertainment in that town. Not a bowling alley, not a movie theater, not a damn thing to do except for drive up and down Main Street and go find shit to tear up out in the country. Yep. Anyway, that's again beside the point. So we're sitting there. We're Beer Can Alley. It kind of swings around the south eastern edge of town, and there was this one specific spot where the road kind of curves. If you're going east, it curves slightly to the north, and then back to the. Sorry, I've got my directions backwards. I'm talking west, not east. It goes around the southwest edge of town. God,
I wouldn't know the difference. Yeah. So.
Well, I
would know the difference, but I don't have a clue where you're Well,
I don't specifically. I don't think I've ever taken you out there, but on our trips back home. But anyway, it curves around it curves back to the north a little bit, and then back to the west at this one spot. And we were hitting this. We were on the little short section of road that's kind of going northwest, just about to head west, and there's this massive glow because there's a up on the south side of the road. There's a big hill and a bunch of overgrowth up there on top of the hill and there, but there's this massive glow from the other side of it. And I'm sitting, what the hell is that? And as I get around there, I expect there to be, a fire or headlights or something. There's something bright over there. I get around there, and there's just this faint. It's the only way I can describe. It wasn't a very like. It wasn't well defined.
Okay.
But it was definitely a glow, and it was self-contained, and it was roughly in a ball shape, and it was on that south side of the road, kind of up against that hill, but not touching the hill, and then it kind of just moseyed across to the north, and then
Was gone.
I honestly I don't know if it shot off or if it just faded out, because the whole thing was so surreal, and I'm sitting there watching this like, what the hell am I seeing here?
That's what. Yes.
I would tend to say it was more along the lines of maybe a ghost light that I happened to get to see up close, because there are reports of a lot of other ghost lights out there in that area.
The ghost lights, though, are they that big? Are they?
We explain what a ghost light is?
So a ghost light,
please.
a ghost light is okay. So a ghost light is probably not the right thing to call this, because in traditional sense, a ghost light is going to be referring more to something that is
Dear.
more to something that is a it's predictable, but it's a light that appears. Usually around a landmark of some sort, and there's not really you can't really find a source for it or an explanation for it.
Oh.
But it's predictable. It'll happen routinely, or it'll happen on a regular basis. There's one set of ghost lights on a train track, and I can't remember where it's at. There's several of them, but one in particular where people will go and gather. Yeah, that's actually a very good the reference that she's talking about there, Will o' the Wisps.
I don't.
And unless I'm mistaken, unless I'm thinking about something completely different, there's a scene in a movie where it's a very faint, almost nondescript ball of light drifts kind of across a field of view for some people. I might be, correct me if I'm wrong, Yanni, but that's kind of what comes to mind when you said that. But back to the ghost lights, it's just kind of it's predictable, but you can't find, or not predictable, but routine, but you can't find a source for it.
So you really can't explain what's causing it.
Right. Now this, that was the only time I ever saw it. That was the only time I ever heard of anything like that happening, that in particular. So you couldn't really define it as a ghost light. But I don't know what the hell else to call it. If it was an orb, it was a big ass damn orb. I mean, holy shit.
But are ghost lights that bright?
I mean, at some point they have to be, because if these things they at least they appear to be miles off in certain circumstances where.
Okay.
And then,
so
but you're seeing it,
bright.
yeah. I mean,
So
when we just left Marion, North Carolina, and one of the houses that we stayed in, one of the dad was telling us that they're like within like a 20-30 minute drive of us, there are some ghost lights. You go up to this ridge and look over the mountains, and they said they see them all the time out there.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
That people have gone down there to try to see them. They don't appear. And then they come up there on the ridge and you can see them. We tried to go out there, but he said that it had rained quite a bit prior to us being there.
Right.
And probably wouldn't be safe with the vehicles that we had.
Right.
To try to get out there. And because that would have been really neat to go out there. And
that would have been cool.
Try it, because I've never seen them before. I've heard a lot about them, but never
Is
seen
that
'em.
what we saw over at the farm that one time?
Yeah, I mean that would be.
Is that what you're?
Yeah, on the it would have been, and of course we couldn't tell where it was coming from when we were seeing it because it was dark, but
But it was on the side of a hill, and
it
this is on our property. There's nobody else on the land,
right?
And it was like like the side of a hill, pretty big hill,
Yeah,
and in the Flint Hills, and it was totally like tree cover, right? And then there's just like this bright like light thing, and we're like, what the hell is that? Like,
Yeah.
Does it reoccur out there?
I've seen it more than once.
Okay.
So yeah,
and there's nobody like living over there. I mean, we don't have neighbors for quite a
Could that
ways.
be like a reflection off
I don't
of
know.
something, or like a gas that's
I mean,
that's off the moonlight
it's,
or
it's
something.
I don't know.
possible, but
Not
this
this.
is a big. I mean,
It
it was not just a tiny point of light. I mean, we're talking about something. It's something that could be mistaken for a single headlight from a distance.
So I guess my question is, these places that have that reoccur, I understand that you mostly see them from a big distance. Why don't they go over there where they're at?
is it kind of like the end of the rainbow. You can't find where it's at.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the. My screen's wigging out again.
The depth perception is. I don't know. Maybe it's.
I don't know. I don't have enough experience with them to be able to really offer a lot to that. But that's my understanding, is that there is
right.
It's just like that, because in the dark you don't have depth perception, or at least not accurate in significant depth perception. So, looking at something that's a distance off, you're going towards it, but how do you know when you're getting close to the source? And I've even heard some stories of some of them that it's like the closer you get to them, the further off it looks like they are, or the more
It's like
you
a
head
mirage.
towards them.
Interesting.
So
Isn't that what that's called? A mirage?
yeah,
Yeah.
Interesting.
Wow.
but I mean that was probably my first experience that I remember as not a very young child.
Okay.
So I had some other experiences at some haunted farmhouses back home and whatnot, but it's hard to tell if that was
Speaking
actually
of farmhouses, has she heard about what happened to me at the farmhouse in North Carolina?
I don't think so.
Have I told
Wait.
you?
Maybe.
I think
Spark
did I
my
tell you?
memory.
I think I told you a little bit the other night when I saw you.
Yeah. I don't know
that.
that you got fully into all the detail with us.
So, do we have time to tell this?
Yeah.
This
We got 16 minutes at least.
This is a really interesting story. So, when the team went out to North Carolina, which was a huge Bigfoot convention out there, and we went out there to represent Bigfoot of Kansas. They asked us to go investigate a farmhouse, and I must say that in all the experiences that I've had, I would have to say this is probably, man, I don't know, this could top off some of the things that have happened to me.
Oh. Do tell.
Okay, so some of the stuff that I'll tell you that we heard before we even went in there is that it used to be I think if I'm correct, I think it was 130 years old, this farmhouse. This farmhouse has been added on to from generation after generation. It was a boys' home, not a children's home, but a boys' home.
Okay.
So there are some people have been told that they hear kids.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that they see kids out of the corner of their eyes. So, anyways, one of the ladies that was that used to, well, they're no longer, I think, a part of them. Bigfoot 911. We stayed. it was her house. Her name's Allie, and we got to go investigate it because she said, we're buying this house. This is what's going on. My dad's going in there and during the day and rebuilding it, and he's got stuff going on. And while you guys are there, would you like to do an investigation?
You're like, hell yeah.
Sure. Well, and and what the crazy thing was is, once we got there were so many people there. And if anybody ever has been through this, you know that it just kills an investigation when you've got that many people there. And so, anyways, when we went upstairs, within a couple minutes, I mean, all of our equipment was going berserk. I mean, we had all the lights were going off. Anything that had a siren to it, it was going off. It was really interesting. And so I don't spend the whole time explaining every little event that went on. 2 in particular happened. First one, we ended up playing hide and go seek with this little boy that we picked up on the
Like not a real boy.
No, yeah, like a spirit.
Okay.
We picked up
That's
this little
awesome.
boy.
Wow.
Sorry for everybody out there. We picked up this. We were using the voice box, and we got this little kid named Brady.
Nah.
And it was almost like they were just all over the place. The upstairs had 4 or 5 rooms in it, and so they were going back and forth. We'd go into this room. This equipment would start screaming. We'd go into this room, that one, and start going off. And so I think I was with Jason and Dan at the time, or maybe it was Jake. I can't remember. It was late. And so I started like going, hey, Brady, are you in this room? Let's go. I think I can find you here. So I think it was Dan. Could have been Jake. But anyways, we walk into the room and nothing going on. We're only about 3 foot into the room. The door's open. So I go, Brady, are you hiding behind the door?
Did the door shut?
No, because I'm in the door
Okay.
at the time.
Oh.
But if you're playing with your little kids and you knew they were behind that door, you'd be like, oh, I wonder if you're behind the door. Ooh, right? And so this is what I'm doing, playing with this kid. And I'm like, oh my God. And so I grab the door and I go, Brady, are you behind the door? And so at this time, it's pitch dark. I've been over, and I'm about the same height of where the doorknob's at. So I was actually trying to have fun with him, And I grabbed the door, and as I went like this, it goes, rawr! Okay? Like a little 8-9-year-old kid would go, not scream at you, but rawr!
Oh my God.
And I
awesome.
could feel the breath.
Oh my God.
I stood.
Did you turn
straight
white?
Up. I turned
did
straight
you
up
have a
and
puddle?
turned around, and the owner.
Oh my
of
goodness.
the house, I think her husband was there, and Jake was there. Dan was there. By the door, I'm like, and they're like, "Did you hear that?" I was like, "Yeah, it was. Yeah, can we move, please?" And
You were like, I'm done.
yeah,
I'm
I
done.
was done. And I remember
done.
right before I left the room,
That's
I said, Brady,
awesome.
you got me, buddy. You got me. But what was crazy is people were outside the doorway, and they heard it.
Oh, wow.
And it wasn't a scary scream or a roar. It was like a little kid
Like, bah!
going, "Rah!" And, I mean, it was like pitch dark, and
Whew.
God knows why I did that in the first place, but
You got what you were asking for.
I have never had that happen to me. Okay, so that happened.
Awesome.
And it actually literally made me go out on the porch.
I bet it did.
Because
I bet
I've
it
never had
did.
that happen. I've been in a room where we've heard growls. I've been in a couple with you.
Yeah.
And you're all like, did you hear that? Did you hear that? This was right in my face. Like a little kid trying to scare me.
What'd Connie say about it?
And I didn't tell her.
Okay.
Because she'd go, you're nuts.
Hey, okay.
She would. She'd say, okay, I'm going to go take a bath.
You're like,
and drink
that's
wine."
nice, honey. That's
Yeah.
nice.
So hold on. This is the next one. And
There's
I
more?
think there's more, and I think And thank God Dan and Jake and Jace, everybody was in the room when this happened. And I think I could probably, in history, go down as the only paranormal person that has had this happen to him.
Oh.
Okay?
Do tell.
I'm going to tell. So, as I was freaked out about that whole incident, I'm still out on the patio. Because it startled me.
What's like the time frame between the first and the second incident?
15 minutes.
Okay.
So, I'm still out on the patio.
You're still shaking up.
Just like, oh my God, I can't believe this just happened to me. And I think the first time, I think it was Jake or somebody came down and said, I think it was Jason, and said, hey, Roth, they're asking for you. And, of course, Jason's like, every time we go somewhere, it always comes across the voice box, where's Roth? Roth. And that's the thing that Jason was even saying is that's not a common name.
Mm-mm.
And it's not Roth.
Mm-mm.
It's Roth.
I've heard that.
And that's happened several times.
Yeah.
It's happened to you guys at the shop.
Yep.
And it's happened other places where people say, where's Roth? And so I'm like, okay.
Because it look like if you were to look at your name, it doesn't look like Roth. It looks like
and
Roth.
For people to say, okay, you got a voice box and you picked up Dave and we happen to have a Dave in the group, I can understand that.
Right.
Not Roth. Nobody in a small little town of 100 people of Marion have Roth.
I've never heard your name before any other time.
And anyways, Jason comes down and said, Brady's asking for you. And
he's like round number 2.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good right now, Jason. He's like, are you all right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm just going to sit out here for a little bit. So then another lady comes down and says, is Roth out here?
You're like, come on.
And I was like, yeah, I'm out here. And, I'm over here. And she goes, it's really asking for you. You need to go upstairs. They told me to come get you. And I'm like, all right. So I go upstairs, and we're in this room, the first room to your right, which is the same room that happened in. I go in, and there's probably, I don't know if Jason, Jake, or anybody's watching this, Dan, I don't remember how many people in there, but we had a full house. And Dan and Jake were right there holding the voice box. And so I walk in and everybody goes, oh, Roth's here. Jake's going, hey, Roth's here. And so nothing on the voice box. It was completely silent. That's all we're hearing. And I go, okay, Brady, I'm here. What do you want? Nothing.
Right.
Jake, I think, and Dan start going, hey, Brady, you kept saying you wanted Roth here. Say something to him.
Yeah.
White noise. That's all we're getting. So I kind of look over and I remember it's kind of dark in there, and I remember there's a rocking chair in there. And so I'm tired at this time. It's been late. And so I go, hey, Brady, I'm going to sit in your rocking chair. White noise. Nothing. And I go, is it okay to sit in your rocking chair? And so I literally go back, and guys, I'm not bullshitting you. I go to grab the handle because I don't know how old this thing is, and I'm a pretty big guy for this thing. I'm not going to be the butt end of this. And, it break on me. So I kind of start to push down on it to make sure it's secure.
Yeah.
And I go, okay, I'm going to sit in your chair, Brady. Just as I sit down, a 5-6 second fart noise comes across the voice box, and it wasn't like it was like a little kid going. And we all stood there.
Seriously?
And everybody busted out in the room, and I just stood there and went, wow, he hit that dead on as I sat down.
Whoopee cushion. Who needs a whoopee cushion?
It was like I literally.
Maybe you sat on him. Maybe you sat on him.
Jake and Dan are in tears.
I bet.
And then of course everyone went, "Oh my God! It just farted." And I just sat there and I went, "Okay, Brady, wow, you got me, buddy." And Dan and Jake are there just going, "I cannot believe that just happened." Roth, he brought you all the way up here.
Just
Didn't
to
say
do that.
a word, and as soon as you sat down, Have you ever had?
The ghost
I've
fart.
never, yeah, I've had some
never-
crazy interactions before, but nothing like that. Nothing like that. That's awesome.
And guys, it wasn't like a really quick. It was like 4 or 5 seconds of just straight fart. And I thought Jake and Dan were just gonna.
Oh, I can imagine.
Oh my God! And of course, all night, yeah, Brady got you, didn't he? You know, and
Wow.
but to hear something like that, I've never. I hear, "Get out! I'll kill you." You know, or goodbye, or something.
Right.
You don't
Get
ever
out.
hear-
Get out now.
You don't hear, I'm hurting. You don't hear a fart.
Right.
I've
Right.
never heard a fart
Nope.
off of a voice box before. So that literally happened to me, and
That
so
is
God,
awesome.
I just felt like he got me really good. I just got up out of that chair and said,
God.
"Okay, Brady, whatever, buddy."
You're like, you win.
Yeah, but
You
what
win.
was really cool about that place is everybody here that knows the voice boxes, they know how the voices can change, but to hear the little kid, you could tell they were probably between that 12 and 14.
Yeah.
The age, you could hear in their voice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the part that really got me, because I don't think I've really ever heard a kid that I know of, come across the voice like that was so clear
Right.
with boys.
Right.
I've heard the girls' voices, and you go, "Oh, I wonder how old she is." Or
Right.
something. I've never heard a young kid, multiple kids come across, because they were different.
Wow.
Right. Yeah.
Come across there, because when you had the voice box, there can be interference somewhere sometimes. You never know. But out in the middle of nowhere on a farmhouse, you wouldn't have little boys.
Well, and there was no
On a
kids
radio-
around, probably.
Right.
There was no kids around.
Yeah, and so that was two of the best times that I've had in a house, have that actually happen. And I got to experience a little boy at the farmhouse that is one of their mid. I don't know if he's the oldest kid. He's probably he can't be but 6.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Wow.
Okay. And I saw one of our paranormal guys probably interact with him in a situation like this. My hat's off to Jake, because I told everybody in the house that we were going to go upstairs and start dispersing our equipment so we could start the investigation. I told Jake about the little boys' room because the mom had told me some stories previously that he keeps saying stuff like, "They're moving my stuff."
And it's like a
Clowns.
6-year-old little, or an actual little
like
kid
an actual little kid
that has a friend.
that has a friend.
Okay.
And so the mom, that's one of the reasons the mom reached out to us, is, "Hey, while you're here, we're getting ready to move into this farmhouse. Can you?" And so what was interesting is the mom was going to make him, I think, lay downstairs so he could go to sleep. And while we were doing this, she made him come up and get his little sleeping bag, because they've got some toys up there, not a lot, but there's a sleeping bag up there, so I'm sure when the parents are working on the house at night, he can lay down. And so Jake was getting ready to enter the room, and Jake doesn't know this little boy doesn't know Jake, he's only met me, and the little boy just goes, "What are you doing? You don't have to go in there. They're not in there. This room's fine."
Oh, shit.
And Jake, at first I looked at Jake like Jake was going to go, "Oh, okay, well, go get your stuff." It was amazing. Jake immediately dropped down to his size and just started talking to this little boy like, "Oh, so, they hang out with you in there?" He just...
Like totally normalizing
And
it
I
for this
just
little
stood there
kid.
and watch this, and I go, "God, we have a great team."
Yeah.
Because most people would have just stood there like, "What do I say? What do I say?"
Oh,
I gotta
shit.
be careful, because this 7-year-old is going to go tell mom. They're, and as just as Jake had bent down to tell, and the little boy was saying, "You don't need to go in there. They're not in there." Beep. The REM pod went off in the little boy's room.
Wow.
And so the little boy stood there and he goes, "See, isn't that a neat toy?" You know, like it. And so the little boy's looking, and it quits. And the little boy goes in and walks around the REM pod and gets mad. And we're all watching this. And the little boy goes, "Ugh, they always do this." Like, and he walks over, and I guess in the room where it go, you know, it's a square room. There's a window and a window, and the little boy had 2 stuffed animals, one here and one over here on the floor. And he goes, "They always do this." And he goes over and he switches them and moves them over towards the TV area where he's got like a little TV stand.
Like he wants them together.
Yeah. Like it pissed him off. And Jake and I are watching this happen. And then as he goes around the REM pod, and grabs his little sleeping bag and is walking out of the bedroom, he goes, "Mm." And they do this all the time too. And he grabbed his 2 or 3 little toys and walks over and like throws them in the box.
Yeah. Wow.
And then leaves. And I just looked at Jake and went, "Interesting. That just happened."
And you know, with the mind of a 6-year-old, they don't have the development to like make shit like that up.
Right.
Like he's really experiencing this.
Right.
And the mom kept asking us to see if we find anything out about clowns. Like the little boy kept mentioning clowns. So
Man.
Very interesting.
I don't know, but we never, you know, we had so much stuff going on at that farmhouse that night that we didn't even, and it didn't matter that we had 20 people in there. It was just going nuts.
Very cool. Very cool.
Oh, jeez.
But to experience the face, passing of the gas.
Oh my God.
The little boy, you know, and him and the experience with Jake was pretty amazing.
Right.
To get to experience.
Yeah.
And I
that
thought
is
Jake
awesome.
just handled it.
That is awesome.
Yeah, he did really well.
Guys, it is 9:03.
Can I ask one question
really?
for both of you before we go?
Sure.
Okay. Simple question. With paranormal investigation, with as much shit as you guys have experienced, do you think there is a point for paranormal investigators that you would experience something to the point that it would make you not want to do this anymore?
Yeah.
Because I would think, like, after what Brandon experienced,
Yeah, it
physical?
would have to be something physical like
Like-
and I still think I have a little bit of that ever since I left Tahlequah, because I've brought it up to you before.
Yeah.
do you know what I mean by my question?
Yeah.
Like, do you
Yeah.
think that it's kind of like you're poking at the paranormal stuff, and then one of these times something's going to poke back to the point that it's like,
Right.
oh shit, I crossed
Yeah.
the line.
I think, I think that's totally possible. I think everyone's going to have their own threshold for that.
What do you think, you personally, what do you think yours would be?
I don't know.
Or you can't even speculate? You've seen some crazy shit.
I have. I've seen
Experienced some crazy shit.
Seen and experienced some really crazy shit. I grew up experiencing this stuff.
True.
You know, so my threshold might be a lot higher than, you know, someone
Like me.
who
Like me.
has had very limited experiences.
Right.
But at the same time, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and claim to be Superman and say, you know, no, nothing can scare me off from this, because it very well might one of these days.
Okay.
I just don't know what it would take to do that. I am confident enough in some of the stuff that I know that and believe that, you know, I can keep myself and my family, you know, you and the kids, and as much as possible, those that I'm with, protected. It's always worked for me in the past. There might come a day when that doesn't work, but I'm not counting on
Haven't
it.
found that. What about you?
I would have to say, if the way that my family is with this, not Cody, he loves doing this.
Right.
But I would have to say, if something happened and it affected my house and my wife to the point where, you guys have to come in and physically do something.
Right.
My wife's had the shit scared out of her. Something, bad.
Traumatic.
Right.
I would probably say, okay, guys, I don't know that I can do this again and bring something with me back because it really affected my family. Because that's one thing that I don't know is happening.
Right.
Is if something followed me back.
Right.
Oh,
if it ever attached to her or somebody, and all of a sudden I've got my whole crew in my house, my wife's going to be going,
we got a problem here.
Yeah, we got a problem here.
Yeah.
And
I can see the look on her face.
I can hear her. I can hear her saying that.
Yeah, because I think it would have to visit me. I'm not so worried about because of the backing that I have with Jeremiah and Leo, and not to mention Dan, Jason, Jay, but you guys in that part. But it would have to be the family. If something happened and it affected the family household, because I don't know if something's coming home. You can push me, kick me, scare the crap out of me, and he can help me through that. But I can't help my family through that. I don't know how to do that.
Right.
Okay. I see.
And
what
I
you're
don't
saying.
know that I can. And so I think if it ever affected my family, then I would probably.
But yeah, I thought of that question. I
say
was like,
no.
I've got to ask because I'm just curious if
What about you as a relative newbie?
it wouldn't take much. It wouldn't take
I'm
much. It wouldn't take much. That's like when we stayed at the Midland Hotel, and it dawned on me we were sleeping in the haunted hotel, and he went down to socialize because we had Sophie with us, the baby. And so I'm up in this hotel room, and I had the TV on and everything, and I kept hearing all kinds of shit, and I'm like, it's just the pipes.
Yeah, and I know we're
just the
running out of
elevator.
time, but there's a difference when you're investigating a house or a room, but when you have to come back and sleep in it,
Yeah.
it's a whole.
Oh man!
There's a whole
Oh
different
man!
ballgame to that. It
And
really is.
this is creepy. This is so creepy. And I think I've talked about this on one of the other shows. But speaking of when we spent the night in the hotel, when we were leaving and we were taking all of our taking our stuff from the room to the vehicle, Christy and her friend Tina were helping me carry stuff down, and we were up. Was that the second floor or third? I can't remember what floor we were on.
Second floor.
Second
please.
floor. And we got off the elevator, and I'm like Christy, I'm like, something smells like it's burning. And she's like, I smell it too. And I'm like, no, seriously, like something smells like it's burning. Well, then we get back downstairs off the elevator. It hit me. Holy shit. They had a fire up there. Like, I don't know how long ago there was a fire, but I'm like, how was that coincidence? I don't know. But I wasn't the only one who smelled it. Something was burning.
One of the more common reports there is that.
Well, I'll report it because I smelled it.
So
It did. It smelled like something was on fire.
I think you guys, when I first met you guys, somebody told me a story of a guy that was pretty decent at what he did, and he left a group because he finally got what he had
Yeah.
I don't know what that ever meant, but maybe that has something to do with your question. Is that, like you said, I think everybody has that threshold of when it's
Right.
And
When enough
because
is
I remember
enough.
you guys said, yeah, there was this guy that used to be there and he quit. And I was like, what do you mean? And he said, well, something answered his question. I've always been like, huh? But now I think whatever happened and he was done.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think, there's probably a point where everybody's going to be done.
Yeah.
Let's end on that one, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's been awesome. Thank you so much for
Hey,
joining us tonight.
We totally didn't do something.
Yeah, we'll
we-
get to it. We gotta figure that shit out. We gotta get that figured out.
Procrastination killed the
Yeah.
cat. Procrastination killed the cat.
But
tell you
thank
in a
you so
minute.
much for
This has been
joining us
awesome.
tonight.
Yeah, I want to come out again.
It's
Hey, and-
always
If anybody's ever in Andover, Kansas, the pizza place that him and his
Bob and
wife,
Luigi's.
the pizza place that him and his wife run, which
Yeah.
oh my god, like it's our new favorite pizza
I
place.
just brought you guys a new one tonight.
I know it's
Yep.
delicious.
Oh man, it's awesome.
It's in Andover,
So,
Kansas. If
I'll
you ever,
put up the Bob and Luigi's page in the video description. I'll also put up the links to the Everyday Legacy Paranormal and Road Trip Paranormal pages.
Yep.
And guys, if you don't mind, just take a second and like and share and help us get the word out about what we're doing here with this. Thank you all so much for logging on and watching with us. And I'm going to take just a second here and fulfill one of Stephanie's wishes and be a creeper for just a second. So
what?
I'll say the tagline from behind your right shoulder.
Do what?
Oh, you can't.
I'm so confused right now.
I'm
so confused right now. What is he talking about?
Oh my God.
What's he talking about?
You'll see it in a second.
Yeah, you'll see it in a second.
That's awesome.
On my face. Oh my God.
That's awesome.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for
Hey. The alien.
the alien gets drowned out in the green screen.
So does
doesn't it?
my coffee mug. We need to tweet. We need to find.
There's a lot of tweaking needs to happen with this, but
Oh my gosh.
we will get it. Guys, again, thank you so much
Gracias.
for logging on
Gracias.
and watching, and we will see you next week. I'm not sure. We do have someone planned for next week already. I will get the announcement on that out on Thursday, as usual.
We're gonna blink, and I'm gonna be like, "Honey, did you post the next Monday's show?" Like, we're gonna blink, and then he's gonna be like, "Crap, not yet. I will." And it's like
That's the way
Thursday.
It's black and white.
Yeah.
That is so awesome.
Wow, that's. What is that thing? What it looks like? It looks like a Cthulhu.
It's because
it looks like a Cthulhu.
It's on the it's
that?
on the that's the background showing through the logo.
Okay. Oh, gotcha. I was like, it looks like Cthulhu right there. I don't know. Whatever. Anyways, look, he looks like he's been branded on his forehead. Roth, look at Jeremiah's forehead on the. All right, we'll get off of here.
All right. Thank you guys so much.
You guys
Once
have
again,
a good night.
Like, share, stay tuned for announcements and of the upcoming shows, as well as some other stuff that we need to get announced. And in the meantime, don't be afraid of the dark. We will see you soon as I can find the...
Don't be afraid of the dark unless you hear a little kid making a farting sound. And then I'd be like, peace, I'm out.
A little kid trying to jump scare you from behind the door.
Of course,
he's not there.
Of course, his name is Brady, trying to fart on you. Oh my God. Anyways, bye guys.